Welcome, everyone, and welcome, Laura, to the Magnetically Aligned Women event. Now, for everyone that's listening in, Laura Hosford is a sacred oracle and goddess of light, emissary for the divine feminine Christ consciousness. She's also a womb priestess and ceremonial frequency rebirther, shamanic ordained minister, master Akashic record teacher, light language channel, and intuitive energy healer and retreat leader. As a transformational teacher of spiritual truth and energy alchemist, Laura gently guides you to purify and transmute hidden layers of fear, unresolved pain, and shadow imprints held in your body and womb to fully activate your divine I am creator blueprint potential in this lifetime. In all of her works, she supports both women and men to develop a supreme sense of self love and divine worthiness, awakening their true angelic God or goddess self to create the life of their choosing. I am so excited to have you, Laura. Would you tell us a little bit more about your journey and what you do exactly?
Yes, well, thank you, Nikki, for having me on today and having this opportunity to connect with you and your beautiful community and audience. So, thank you so much for that. And yeah, I would say, really started my journey when I first started to really awaken was around 2001. And I began to get in touch with my own intuitive gifts at that time and started a journey of connecting in with some Eastern philosophies. It was kind of interesting and studying. Taoism and doing qigong and tai chi and starting on that pathway, learning a lot about the body really first and beginning to really become more grounded into my body because for most of my life I was pretty much ungrounded, out of my body and felt safer out of my body than in my body because of a lot of childhood trauma. um, in my childhood and and those sorts of patterns. And so it was just really time to begin to start this new walk and this new journey in life. And so I'm really grateful and really blessed for that. And then 2008, I my journey kind of took a huge turn, and Divine Mother really called on me and said, you've got to really fully awaken now. And what that looked like was a little bit of what I call a dark night of the soul moment. And so it ended a career of 10 years. And I, was at home that summer and I was like, well, what am I going to do now, with my life? And I was going through really a lot of internal, almost psychic breakdowns, if you will. I felt like I was like an egg being cracked open and literally light was streaming in through my brain, and my brain was really being opened up because my family of origin, we have a very strong analytical brain, left brain. And so in my career in healthcare, I was very much into analytics and processes and things like that. So, went through this that summer, and no one really knew what was going on. I had a beautiful dog at that time, Molly, and she actually was a beautiful shaman. And she really was walking with me and holding me in this beautiful, loving space that I was kind of really walking almost alone at that time. And so, it was just fabulous. And then I went on to life become a life coach, and it kind of had a metaphysical flair to it, more of an esoteric. It was here in Atlanta, and I really like to do things in person. And I started that, and then I started into a psychic development course, and then I just went on from there into probably the next 6 years. I was on this very kind of rapid track and journey of awakening to my true self, of awakening into my own divine spiritual gifts. And then really and went on there to 2014, starting my own spiritual business, and started out as a Akashic Records teacher and really helping others to get in touch, with that connection that we all have within, of connecting with our I am self, with our higher self. And so it was quite exciting a journey. I met so many beautiful people along the way. And I've always been supported by Divine Mother. She's always been there holding me in this beautiful embrace, even though I went through lots of, emotional challenges. I had quite a bit of emotional abuse in my childhood, and I did, quite a bit of work on myself on just, healing those patterns that we have, the thought patterns, the negative thought patterns, the even negative habits, the abuse and the toxic energies had to be really purified from my system so that then I could really begin to walk this new walk. However, even though it felt very, personal at times, it did include the purification of the ancestral lines. However, I knew in the bigger picture, in the bigger scheme of things, that I came in this incarnation into this family to walk this walk so that I could experience, those lower frequencies of fear and begin to really overturn those frequencies and transmute and transform those frequencies to bring myself up on the frequency scale so then I could overcome, those lower frequencies of fear and control and domination and even all of those things that we are kind of, is we're seeing today. We're seeing all this truth that's been hidden. I think the word narcissistic, wasn't even in the vocabulary 20 years ago. It just began to come into the mainstream, right? These words we never heard of, or codependency or victimization, that, a lot of us may have been entrapped in those cycles for lifetimes. So, I knew, and this was a very important piece of information that was guiding me, because I had a lot of guilt and shame to release. And from my body, from my mind, from even my womb center as a woman. And so, this has just continued to, on my journey, my walk, to continue to take me into very beautiful places and spaces. Ended up being called to France in 2017 and began to work with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and Yeshua on a more of a closer basis, and had beautiful experiences in France where there's very powerful divine feminine energies there in along the ley lines, which are being even more activated today across the globe. All of these beautiful ley lines as we continue to ascend, and these beautiful energies that Divine Mother is here to reconnect us all to, both for women and men. And this is where we're going to get our power to create. So I started to experience that beautiful power and beautiful coming home to my own goddess self, I like to call her, at that time. And my journeys only continued to get more and more beautiful as I move forward. And, I'm just here to serve women, to serve men, any way I can. And my favorite new term and word, Nikki, is come to be, I'm a liberator. So, I love that word, liberation. I love freedom. Those are some of my high values, um, and I love that wild spirit of the feminine, right, that wants to be unleashed into the world, but not in some kind of crazy, uncontrolled way, but coming through with purpose, with clear intention, flowing through our bodies again for both women and men, and being able to be the conduit between our beautiful cosmic mother, divine mother Sophia, I call her, and our beautiful earth mother. And so this is what's so exciting is coming into 2021, because after this year of 2020, which has been extremely difficult for us, as you said, we were talking before the show that, that was a year of building new foundations, and we had to get in touch with what had to be let go, right? To in order to make space for opening up to what wants to come in, the beautiful new gifts that want to come to us. And you know, for your listeners who have gone through a dark night of the soul, or maybe they're going through a dark night of the soul now, just know that you are being divinely cared for and nurtured, even though at times you may not be clear, or you may feel like you're in a fog, or you may even feel ungrounded, or you may be still experiencing old energy patterns, or even lots of fear or shame. That just know that in your own beautiful soul plan, that there is a plan to take you on this journey to your full potential, and to continue to just come back to that each and every day and connect with that vision as it gets more clear. Because I've found through my own experience, I started out as a spiritual life coach, I like to call it, a beautiful beginning. But then, the journey, it really is about the journey and not the destination. As we hear, it's about how you're evolving, how you're getting more clear, what lights up your, your smile, what brings, passion and love and joy and happiness into your life. And, for your community, I want to encourage, every person in your community to never, ever give up on your dreams, ever. And that there is always help for you in the universe. And sometimes that help comes from unexpected places that we don't even know. Certainly when I was during my 6 years, I was still working in the corporate world. And, I had, after I left my home in September 2009 and I didn't have a job. I just left, packed up my car. I did end up divorcing my beautiful husband of 30 years. And within 3 weeks of leaving, I had a job, a full-time job come to me. And so, it was like when, I kept showing up, to hear the call, to hear that deep inner call of, this is the pathway, this is where you need to go, then I was totally supported in many ways that sometimes we don't even always know what those ways are. But we know that we're in this flow, we're in this current of, of care, of love, and it keeps showing up for us.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And there are a couple of points that you touched upon that really stood out to me, especially like on my own journey. And for everybody who's listening, who's going through their journey or who's just beginning to inquire about their journey, something you pointed out was going through this awakening, going through realizing that things in your life are not feeling aligned anymore. That you start to question, who am I, like what am I doing, and going through the dark night. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? What exactly is that, and in your experience how that shows up for different people?
Yeah, well, dark night of the soul is a term that can be used for when we go through some kind of a crisis event. Usually it could be a healing crisis. It could be of a physical nature where perhaps you're going through, a very difficult physical disease, or it could be something like, going through a divorce situation. It could be losing, perhaps a job that, a career that you have. Anything that really comes in that really begins to, it's almost like, it gets in front of your face and it's almost like grabbing your attention in this way and like causing you to really break down. It's sort of a breaking down of your psyche, of your physical, of your energy bodies in order to have a breakthrough. And so a lot of times, with us as humans, we sometimes we can be stubborn or we're so set in our ways that we need something like this to come along to kind of, stir up our inner world. So it's all about stirring up your inner world and beginning to shift your inner reality to a new lens or to a bigger picture or to widening the lens of perhaps not seeing things or seeing things really in a new way and finding sort of the silver lining in those new perception shifts. And really it's a lot about looking at your internal world and questioning even your own belief systems, your own truth. Like, I grew up in the deep south. I love the deep south. I grew up in very steeped in religion. We have ministers, we have missionaries in my family. I love church. I love going to church. And, but then it came a point, my 20s, where I began to really question more deeply about, well, I know these people, who don't go to church, but they're beautiful people. They're good people. They just don't go to church. And I really began to question some of those, deep seated beliefs that I was raised in. And eventually I ended up actually uprooting those, religious beliefs and letting those go, from my own belief system so I could come into my own authentic truth. Because from the time that we're even birthed in the womb, even starting at the point of conception, and then while we're in our mother's womb, we begin to, and we know this through quantum physics, we begin to take on the beliefs, the patterns, into the cells, into our body. And so, um, we begin to, even when we're small children, we look up at our parents and we think they're gods, like goddesses, because, we're so tiny and they're so big, they must be right about everything, right? So we begin to adopt those beliefs and those truths. And then as we get older, we begin to find, through our teens, and we have a healthy relationship with ourselves, we begin to then question, are those really my truths? Are those really my beliefs? And then we begin to really break those barriers. And part of the dark night of the soul is that very thing, to begin to really question and get, more clarification on, well, am I really choosing the life that I want? Am I choosing the things that are authentic to me? My value system, what helps me to feel alive? What helps me to feel passionate about life? What helps me to feel good about life? And so that's really some of the gifts of going through a dark night of the soul. And so once you make these shifts and you go through, then you come out on the other side. It's almost like, we talk about the butterfly from the cocoon experience, right? It's the same thing. And so I think that, even here, through 2020, it was really a dark night of the soul event on a global scale this year, Nikki. And many people's lives, were shaken up. And, you know, all of these things that have come up, that have been hidden from us and are now becoming transparent, we're beginning to question this world, right? We're beginning to question, well, is this really all there is to this reality? If you were one of those people who just looked around and maybe, based on your own belief systems, or, maybe you're one of those people who are very logical, which is beautiful. It's all important. It all serves a purpose. Our ego serves a purpose. Our lower self serves a purpose in this duality and polarity world. But maybe you began to question, well, maybe there is more to life than just what I see, right? Or just what I've experienced on the physical plane. And this is some of the beautiful gifts that we're now, waking up to, is beginning to really look inward and go inward and really begin to question and really begin to say, well, why am I here? And what am I doing here? And am I even happy with my life? And do I even have the quality of life that I want? And, from my own experience, I had a beautiful life. I had the beautiful American dream. I was married, I have a beautiful daughter. I built my dream home, my dream lifestyle. But yet there was something inside of me, Nikki, that I still didn't have. And you know what that was? That was inner peace. And I did not have inner peace inside of me, Nikki. I still had a lot of, these sort of negative thought patterns in my head, abusive thoughts, thoughts like you're a bad person, a lot of shame energy, a lot of guilt energy that I was still carrying within me, that all had to be purified. And then I could come back into my true self. Then I began to really shed off, the conditioning patterns of,
Oh,
and I began an empath, you know, my parents' beliefs, the ancestors' beliefs, all of it. And, still even today, still in somewhat of a purification. I think we continue to purify as we move forward. But those were not my truths. Those was just the shell that I inherited when I came into this world. And it was time for me to begin to awaken and begin to come back into the bigger picture of that, this is just a temporary physical experience. It's a beautiful experience, and we're bringing in the beautiful new earth. We're becoming a divine human, which is part of the bigger plan
mhm.
to marry heaven to earth and to, earth to heaven. However, it's also important that we also begin to realize that we are more than just a body, and that when this physical body goes through the death process, that we have a rebirth. We have a rebirth into a new life, where whatever that is or wherever that is in the cosmos. And I think this is really important. And many masters have come to share this message with us, and to help us to wake up and to remember that we are, first of all, divine spiritual beings, which just means that we're energy. We're energy, and energy can never be destroyed. Energy is just constantly, changing form. And, to begin to awaken and remember, our connection with Divine Mother, because that's really the gift of coming into the age of Aquarius, is that for several thousand years as humanity, we really became very depleted of the divine feminine energy. We almost lost we basically lost our contact with the original creation energy of Divine Mother. And so now this is a beautiful gift that is coming back to us in 2021. And yes, there will be still some more chaos that we're going to, some more bumps in the road that we're going to go through here through 2021. But as we get on the other side of that, then, everything we've been wanting to create in our hearts, right? Those beautiful hearts, desires, whatever they are, whatever those dreams are, Divine Mother is here to give it to you on a silver platter. She is here to gift that to you. And it's just about
Before
really, yeah.
before you move on, there are some, some connections I'd like to make because not
Sure.
everybody knows what the Divine Mother is and the Divine Feminine. Can you go a little bit into that? And we only have 30 minutes for this interview. So
Okay.
can you go a little bit more into that for us?
Sure, absolutely. So when I talk about the Divine Mother Sophia, I'm talking about the original organic creation energies of the universe, all that is. And so we have the mother energies, the feminine energies out of which everything was birthed. So everything in our reality that comes, the formless, before it comes into form, and everything that you see in form comes from the womb of Divine Mother. And then the masculine's role is to come in and to actually focus those energies for how those energies are going to be used and how they're going to be created, the forms that are going to be created. And that's kind of what we see today in our world, the imbalance, if you will. The divine feminine energy is, the way that I like to describe it is, it's pure love, pure beauty, and it's just completely benevolent love, without judgment, without flaw, total perfection, of which we were all birthed. All of our beautiful individual souls were birthed originally in creation.
I love that. Thank you so much for explaining. And when it comes to helping other people along this journey, you have the Divine I Am Creator Blueprint. What exactly is that, and what does that help the individual achieve on their journey?
Yeah, great question. So we carry sort of a our own energetic spark, if you will, which what that is, our own energetic blueprint or energy, because we were all created, very much equally, but also with our own identity, our own kind of soul song or soul frequency, energy frequency. And so we all hold this divine blueprint actually in our eighth chakra, our soul star chakra, that sits about a foot above our head. And so we hold that blueprint there. And as we go through our purification process, as we begin to awaken ourselves and we begin to clear and open space in our energy bodies, then we begin to activate this divine blueprint more and more. I am frequency, which is just our individuality, which is so beautiful. We all have qualities of Divine Mother and Divine Father in our blueprint, but they're all kind of like unique to us. Not everyone is walking around with 50%, feminine and 50% masculine. It didn't work like that. So some of us may have more feminine energy, some may have more masculine energy in the way that we're created as a beautiful creation. And that's how we actually even recognize each other on the other side, of the veil, so to speak, through our soul song, our soul frequency. So as we're all here to birth something beautiful into this world, that we kind of have a unique puzzle piece, and that becomes activated as we align with this beautiful divine blueprint. And as I say align, we align it with all of our chakras. We align it with the heart. We align it even with our womb, and men have a womb on a soul level. Women have a physical womb, of course, our pineal center. And then, as we bring all of these things more into alignment, then we begin to then manifest the potentials of this divine blueprint. And then that will include whatever makes you happy, like whatever you feel passionate about. Maybe you like to create music, maybe you like art, maybe you like to write, maybe you like to sing, maybe you love nature. It could be anything, but it's something that gets turned on inside of you, in your blueprint, in your heart, and you begin to feel the impulses and the waves begin to move through you. And this is how we're going to begin to operate in the new world.
Thank you for sharing. And from my understanding of what you've shared with me, we we are born with this blueprint already, and throughout our lives, even when we are in the womb, we are conditioned by our external environment, our parents, their understanding, and our ancestors of how they operate in life, and it's kind of passed on to us because we're not aware of this just yet. So as we're going through life, we're living in a different space. We're living based on somebody else's blueprint, and that's where this friction happens, where this resistance happens, like, oh, I don't feel like I'm operating correctly. And is that what you mean when you feel out of alignment, and then when you find um, your own unique blueprint, the I am blueprint that you are born with? It's deconditioning all of these beliefs that we have conditioned ourselves from outside, and then only then, once you release that, you get to step into who you're born to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it does involve what I call a purification or a clearing process that we started. Some people may have been on the pathway of starting this purification process, many years ago, or, maybe you're just now starting it this year in 2020. But it is a purification of, the energy, which includes, the thought patterns. It includes the emotional, imprints, the emotions that maybe have been repressed or suppressed within your energy bodies. And if those are not, you know, basically transformed, they're not cleared or purified, they can then manifest at the physical level into disease. And that's how the body actually becomes diseased, because, we have an etheric body, and then we have our mental body, we have our emotional body, and then we have our physical body. And so it's kind of like our physical blueprint, if you our body double is in the etheric, and it holds all these energies. And so we have to really get into, going and doing the inner work, I call it the deep inner work of purifying, those belief systems, those things that are not our truth, those emotional, suppressed emotions that we have, like guilt or shame or fear even. We have to really purify those from the system, because it's kind of like that's keeping us sort of clogged up. It sort of keeps like our plumbing clogged up, if you will, at an energetic level, because we're supposed to be having this beautiful free flow of divine feminine energy and divine masculine energy literally running through our bodies, running through our emotional body, our physical, our spiritual, in our mental bodies. When we're operating in alignment, then we have lots of space, which space is love. And we have this beautiful free flowing energy flowing between us, because we're a channel, we're connected to our higher self, so grounding into Mother Gaia, into the earth energies. And so as we open up this flow and we begin to feel these impulses moving through us, we're going to feel lighter, we're going to feel brighter, we're going to feel like, things just come to us more easily. In fact, I love your word magnetic, because that's exactly what happens. You become more magnetic in your energy flow, and the magnetism begins to magnetize to you the people, the resources, even the funding, everything. You're sort of, it brings like these sequences of divine timing. It initiates and activates in the quantum space, all of this that's meant for you, to come through your divine blueprint, which is like a map. And so it's kind of like, you've got the key, you're the key holder to the map. And so as you insert this key into your heart, and you begin to turn on the beautiful heart frequencies that you have, and you begin to connect with those heart frequencies of love with divine mother, and you begin to turn all of this on, you begin to get brighter and brighter and brighter and lighter. And then you're working more with your crystalline energies, the crystalline energies and the diamond energies again. And you're really walking into the original Christ consciousness divine template that was really intended for all of us as humans. I mean, the original blueprint, I think we're supposed to really be embodied, Nikki,
Mhm.
into our original Christ consciousness energy blueprint by the time we're 33.
Oh, wow.
Just like Jesus, right? If you think
Mhm.
about Jesus and his life, by the time we're 33, we all should be like Jesus, avatars of higher consciousness, of balance, tapping into our full divine I am, and creating. We're really truly creators of powerful, powerful dimensions. And this is what's being restored to us beginning this year, which is so exciting. And I can't wait to see all the beautiful creations that you and your community and everyone in the world, we are here to rebirth the new earth. I mean, the new earth is being rebirthed literally through us and will come through with a divine idea through our divine mind. It will drop to the heart where it gets fuel, it gets the magnetic fuel and the passion, and then it drops to the womb space, including for men, and then it comes and it gestates. It's like being gestating in the womb, just like, you if you have you're pregnant with a child, no difference. And this idea is gestating, and then you're taking actions, and then it becomes birthed into the world. And so this is how we're going to create the new earth and the new world. But the exception or the differences between the old world and this world is we get to create it now in the unity consciousness, a balance, and we get to create it now with divine pure love, and in purity of love, and just like we were birthed in that divine perfection.
Thank you for sharing. It brings a lot of perspective to everything that's happening around us right now. Like you said, everything in 2020 is kind of like the dark night of the soul on a universal level. So, for somebody who's going through this, how do they heal and then step into their divine power? Is there certain things they can do to initiate this journey?
Absolutely. So one of the things I would highly recommend is to begin to really develop a really good self-care and nurturing program for yourself. Whatever that looks like for you, it could, be sure to include, every day. One of the things that carried me through my own dark night of the soul was I'm a big believer in prayer. And so I had a simple prayer, but a very powerful prayer that I prayed that every day for my guides and my I am self to be aligned with that spiritual path, the highest spiritual path, and to continue to align me with the spiritual path of the highest light, the true light of my soul. Because I went through some, we all go through some challenging times, and we begin to realize how much darkness we've been emerged in, I think, Nikki, and not realizing that on the planet. And now we certainly see, the dark coming up because everything's becoming transparent. So self-care is absolutely vital. Making sure that you're carving out, time for yourself every day, doing self-nurturing, whether it's exercise or going in nature or riding a bike or going for a hike or spending time, I love to journal. I think journaling is a wonderful tool. Just to have a journal, and create maybe a daily ritual, whatever that is for you, and just get quiet. If you can't meditate, because you have a lot of the monkey mind, how I recommend you start is using music, using some type of music that you like, something that's maybe new age or soft or, classical, even something that you can begin to get in touch with your heart. You can simply bring your hands to your heart. And if you keep your hands here for 6 minutes, it will help to get you to shift you from your head down into your heart. And that's really important on the journey, is to begin to really shift your energy, because if you do have a lot of monkey mind, it means you have a lot of energy around your head, because in our world, this is how we've been trained. And so we want to get the energy down, and you want to get the energy into your body. So self-care, having a daily spiritual practice, whatever that is for you, having some really good support with friends, one or two friends, that can help you along the way to reflect back, even, encourage you, be there to help you through maybe some of those times, or a coach, having a coach, highly recommend that too. Someone who can continue to reflect back to you that you are making progress. Um, because sometimes we can't see that progress, but as long as we have it mirrored back, that's really powerful to help you to stay on track. Um, and also having a coach, is really useful in helping you to identify what is that core pain pattern. We all have at least one or two deep, really core pain patterns. In recognizing those patterns for myself, it was a lot about, rescuing people, you know, uh, almost the martyrdom pattern. And I had to heal that, that I had to work through that. And a lot of us have that we need to identify. And then once we can begin to identify that, aspect, and we can begin to heal that aspect and begin to, reintegrate that light back into our physical body. Because we talk a lot about ascension, Nikki, but really I see it more as descension. And what I mean by that is we're actually descending, our higher self energy, which is that of our divine blueprint, into the physical body, into the physical experience. And that's really where this year's been particularly can be challenging for people, because a lot of the things going on out there in the external, can really impact our root chakra, our first chakra. It can be impacting our adrenals, creating fatigue or causing us to worry, causing us to have a lot of fear. So having a good grounding practice, I highly recommend that. Whatever that is for you. I think I sent you a meditation that people can try out, or, just getting out in nature. And nature is so healing for our bodies. I can't talk about it too much. But every week I go down to the national park, and I take my chair, and, I take a blanket, take my shoes off, put my feet on the blanket on the ground for 20 to 30 minutes. I let Mother Nature just recharge my body to balance my electromagnetic field, biofield that we have. And that can be very powerful too, to help you to reset yourself every week at least.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So, just a little
Sure.
highlight for everybody who was listening. Um, self care, self care, grounding ritual, self nurturing,
Hmm.
going into nature and being connected to nature. And you can also touch your heart, move that energy away from the head and into the heart. And I know you just shared with us a wonderful grounding meditation. Can you share a little bit information about that? And for everyone that's listening, I'll go ahead and link that so they can have access.
Sure. So what I sent was it's the Divine Feminine Heart Womb meditation. And what it does is about, I think it's around 20 minutes. It takes you through and begins to help you to really bring your focus inward, begin to align yourself with the flow of your soul light along the front of your spine. It begins to open you to that flow that we have between the pineal chakra in the center of the head, which is the first divine feminine center, and begin to align it with your heart. And it brings it down to your womb center. So there's a heart in your womb. It's called the twin hearts. And it begins to open up this flow of an infinity flow is particularly between your heart womb and your heart, and begin to open up like this whole river, this golden river of abundance that you want to begin to turn on within you, because this golden river of abundance is going to increase the flow that I talked about through your body. And it's also begin to help you to open up to moving away from, such a linear experience of life that we had, Nikki, into the third dimensional world, into more of the fifth dimensional world of the quantum space, where as you open up that flow and align with that, then you begin to receive everything coming to you in those divine right pieces. You hear the conversation, you get the piece of information that you need to receive, that's an answer or a solution to a problem you're struggling with. You get a job that you've been looking for, up leveling into more abundance. These things just start to happen in the quantum field. And as you do that, they begin to come to you in a most beautiful magnetic way. That's the divine feminine.
I love that. I love that so much because that was the whole purpose of this show is how how being aligned with yourself just attracts abundance, and you don't have to constantly be doing. It's just who you're being. and your energy draws this in. So thank you so much for being on with us, Laura. It has been a pleasure to have you. And before we leave, I would love some words of wisdom or your favorite quote that you can leave us with.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So, for a long time, I love that quote from Rumi about, there's a space and a place there, and that is so beautiful. I don't know the exact words, but it talks about I'll meet you there, that's beyond this reality. And I love that because it's pointing to what all the masters have pointed us to for many thousands of years, that inner place of peace that we're all looking for, right? The peace beyond understanding that Master Jesus talked about is here. It's here inside of you. It's inside of you in your heart. And it's waiting there for you to discover and to find that. And that is also known as the 0 point field. And once you can begin to cultivate and create more peace in your life, Nikki, then you begin to birth out and create this new heaven on earth, whatever that is for you, whatever that beauty is, that you're bringing forth into our new world.
Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you. And for everybody that's watching, I'll link the gift that Laura has given for us. And I can't wait to see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I really enjoyed it today. Thank you so much. Many blessings. Namaste to you and your community.